Go ahead and start. Gora Draganya Gana Go to Goloru Haram. Goranga Gura Tama Gopya the Kopa Vriksham. Gopala Gada Rati Dam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshika Vadam Satatam Namami. Uttama Adama Kichuna Bachila Janchiya Dile Kakola. Kahe Premananda Hemona Gauranga Hridoya Dariya Bola Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangera Namare Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema Vidana Padama Kumata Tismai Jigannandala Mandalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namaste Madhgavira Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambraya Pitvaha Rishayusta Priya Janaha Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Praharadvajabala Vapahima Panchakalpadurubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nice to see everybody here today. As we mentioned, Hari Prabhupada was in at Sulanti, so nice to see Jai Bodhi. I think he's giving class right now. In the center, I think this is my pronunciation. Listen to Joshi Radha Govinda. So then put in a good word for about me to Radha Govinda. Radha Govinda, very, very special. So we're giving kind of an overview, the Mangalacarana prayers, the Cc Mangalacarana. And whereas before, some of the verses we were spending, I could spend 6 or 7 sessions on one verse, we're going to go through 4 verses session. So we started a little late today. But this is, we were mentioning in our last session, the first 7 verses are kind of standard Mangalacarana prayers. And being as one of the purposes of the Mangala Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Good evening. Could you hear me before? Lila Purushottam? Looks like my connection just dropped for a minute.
Yes, it dropped for a while, and it's really not a good quality today of the sound. It's hard to even understand you.
Oh, all right, let's just see how it goes. Hare Krishna. I'll start again. Hopefully it'll go better. What the connection I've got. I'm sure see what connection. Yeah, it's the best. It just dropped for a second. time coming back again. I'm really hoping that
Yeah,
it's going to be okay. We'll see.
it's switched.
Just a little note. Tomorrow we're going to the Govardhan Echo Village. I mentioned the other day something about that. Radhanath Maharaj, they're doing something for his sannyas anniversary, and they decided the best thing they could do was to invite Padmanabha Goswami, Sri Vatsa Goswami, two of the most prominent Goswamis of Vrindavan, to represent Vrindavan, and they wanted to have a session about the Dham. And they invited some person from Tirupati, and Radhanath Maharaj told them you should get Madhavananda to come and represent Jagannath Puri. So we're quite excited to go through that. We're leaving tomorrow. We won't be back until the 24th, I think it is. So I'm not sure. We'll have at least one session during that time over Ghana. I have no idea about connections or anything. So we'll see how it goes. And we'll see how this goes today. I'm really sorry, but the connection's already dropped twice. We're just trying the best that we can. Just pretend that you're hearing from someone in India. So again, this is an overview of Chaitanya Charitamrita Mangalacarana prayers that were recited every time in class by our revered spiritual master, Sri Srimad Govinda Maharaj. He was very proud of his Mangalacarana prayers. I remember him saying once, he says, yes, my Mangalacarana, it's very, what do you say, it's very extraordinary, very unique. It's very, very unique. And I've seen him doing programs with sometimes Gaudiya Mata, with Babaji's and things here in Puri. Sometimes there's some public program invited. And the Babajis and sannyasis, they take pride in their Mangalacarana. Everybody has some long Mangalacarana. Guru Maharaj had his own Mangalacarana. Now, giving an overview on this, as we mentioned in our last session, the first 7 verses, I think these are standard Mangalacarana prayers. And I think one purpose of Guru Maharaj speaking this was to give faith and inspire the devotees. This is not something strange, this is something you can relate to. So it begins with Om Gana Tamaranda Shya, and then he goes on to Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam, which we spoke something about those 2 verses. In our last session, they're both from Narottam Das Thakur's Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And he begins with Guru, and then he goes to our Sampradaya Acharya, Srila Rupa Goswami. We're all Rupa Nugas. And then after that, he goes to the 3rd verse, which is what we'd like to look at today, which is a very famous verse appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Shri Radheya, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamanam, Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master and under the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatana Goswami. I offer, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami, I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. So I wanted to say something a little about this verse in terms of how Narottam Das Thakur teaches us. We mentioned in the last session, I think also, in Prem Bhakti Chandrika, there should be a certain sequence, or in Sanskrit we say a krama, in our offering of respects. And first we begin with offering respects to Gurudev, not the Vaishnavas, first Gurudev. Because by the mercy of Gurudev, we get the mercy of the Vaishnavas. The Vaishnavas will never be pleased with us unless we're fixed in service to Gurudev. And by the mercy of Gurudev, we can appreciate the Vaishnavas. So here, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Vande, I offer my Vandana, Vande Ham, I'm doing this personally. Out of the 3 different types of Mangalacharnas, the Vastanirdesh Ashirvad Namaskar. This is the third. The Namaskar is a very famous verse for Namaskar. Prabhupada uses quite often. This is a very compact form of offering obeisances to everybody. And as I mentioned, what I see in this is a sequence given also of order. First, we offer obeisances to our Gurudev, my initiating spiritual master, and then Sri Gurun. Prabhupada translates Guru, my initiating spiritual master or my instructing spiritual master. And then Sri Gurun, the spiritual masters in our parampara. And then Vaishnavamscha. Then we offer respects to the Vaishnavas. So I don't want to go so deep into each one of these verses as we're giving an overview, but at the same time, I have to tell you, both for myself and I think for all of you, if I just do an overview from 2 miles up in the sky, looking down on the ground at the writing of these verses on the ground, everybody's just going to go to sleep. It's going to be a very, very brief thing because the nectar is only go deep. But since we've already gone over these verses very elaborately, I'm not going to do that this time, but I would still like to touch a little bit deeper into them. I don't want to just look on the outside, but at least I want to dip my toe in a little bit, or dip our finger in, as the case may be, into the water and check out each one of these verses. So this verse, on usage of this verse, came from Kaviraj Goswami in the Antya-lila chapter 2, which is a chastisement of Chota Haridas. And then apparently he liked it again, he used it in Antya-lila chapter 3. So first comes the Diksha Guru. And Sri Guru is singular. Prabhupada defines that as initiating Guru. Sri Guru is plural. And Prabhupada defines that Sri Guru as Acharya in Parampara. Another meaning is the Siksha Gurus. So I feel very confident that one reason Guru Maharaj wanted to give this verse was for Namaskar, to offer obeisances to all these important persons, was to give confidence in the devotees that this is something authorized, this is what Srila Prabhupada gave us, and also to teach us about the proper krama, the proper sequence. And I see it's very important in this verse a discussion about the Siksha and Diksha Gurus. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes about this in Harinam Chintamani. I want to just touch a couple places about this topic because it's a subject which I find which is very, very much, I think, misunderstood by devotees. Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives a subheader in chapter 6 of Harinam Chintamani. Diksha o Siksha Guru Ubayake e Saman Koro Avashyaka. That the Diksha Guru and the Siksha Guru must be honored equally. It's a really important thing. I mentioned the story perhaps sometime before, but once I happened to be in Vrindavan for Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, I believe it was. And I went to the feast, and I happened to sit down next to one friend of mine who was in charge of the Goshala at that time. And it so happened he was initiated by one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers in the Gaudiya Math. So I thought, well, this is a good opportunity. Let me ask him a few questions and learn a little something more. Sometimes I think when we find ourselves with somebody different, a lot of times devotees just want to get up and move away. I hope that devotees in our group are not like that. And I hope devotees have gotten better about that over the time. But a better attitude is, if someone strange comes, we should think, oh, this is someone strange, someone different. We should think, oh, this is my opportunity to learn something. Here's somebody who it comes from a different kind of perspective than me. So I asked him, what is it you like about ISKCON? What do you think is good about ISKCON? And what is bad about ISKCON? And similarly, what is good about the Gaudiya Math? And what is bad about the Gaudiya Math? And he liked my question, I think. It was an honest question. And he said, well, first thing that I really like about ISKCON is Srila Prabhupada's strictness with the morning program and the 16 rounds. He says in many branches of the Gaudiya Math, they have a conception that you just do service and that's good enough. And you don't even have to chant japa. And there's some I have some friends who are serving the Guru who, if they're doing a lot of Guru service, sometimes they don't chant any rounds. And it's considered that the Guru Seva is equivalent to that. And there's some statements from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and from Jiva Goswami in that regard. I'm not going to go in that direction now, but he mentioned that this is something he appreciated about ISKCON, that in ISKCON you have to chant 16 rounds at least. And in ISKCON, everybody's supposed to come to Mangalarti in the morning program and Bhagavatam class, whereas in Gaudiya Mutt, sometimes the morning program is not so strong. He said, so I really like this about ISKCON. And he said, what's bad about ISKCON, what the fault I can see in ISKCON, is the way that we treat the Diksha and Siksha gurus. He said, in the Gaudiya Mutt, the Siksha guru may be more prominent than the Diksha guru. And we see that in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami, who was initiated by Yadunandan Acharya. Yadunandan Acharya is a great devotee. As I recall, he was initiated by Advaita Acharya. He was close friends with Haridas Thakur. He's a nice devotee. But we don't hear practically anything about him. Although Raghunath Das Goswami, when he speaks about the name of his guru, he mentions Raghunath Acharya. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita, we hear Swarupa Raghu. That Raghunath Das Goswami, he's Swarupa Raghu. He belongs to Swarup Damodar Goswami. He's not initiated by Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar Goswami is a Siksha guru. But we consider that Siksha connection to be more prominent, more important than his Diksha connection. So this friend of mine was commenting in this way. He said, this is one thing that I think is a fault in ISKCON, in a better quality in the Gaudiya Mutt. In the Gaudiya Mutt, sometimes we may give more respect to the Siksha guru than we do the Diksha guru. Whereas in ISKCON, a Siksha guru is kind of like, excuse my American language, it's kind of like a nigger guru. You know, he's not really very important. He's just kind of low class or something. And they have everybody who gives Bhagavatam class for Guru is my Siksha guru, and everybody who is senior to me is my Siksha guru, in kind of a sentimental way like that. But I marked it in regards to some Gaudiya Mutt devotees like Narayan Maharaj, Prabhupada's friend, and in ISKCON also with Shivaram Maharaj. When they give initiation ceremonies, they ask all of the devotees who want to take Siksha from them to take a vow. They sit in the yajna and they take a vow. My Guru Maharaj demanded a letter of permission from the devotees before they could take Siksha from their initiating Guru. So, because in ISKCON sometimes we don't take it in such a serious way. But Bhaktivedanta Thakur says that Diksha or Siksha Guru, Ubhaya ke shaman, Shamana Kora Avashyaka, that the two should be given equal honor. Guru Gati, Guru Mati, Guru Satya, Guru Pati, Guru Bandhu, Bandhu Vaswajan, Guru Pitta, Guru Mata, Guru Bhakti, Patadata, Guru Sarva Siddhira Karan. This is a verse from, I'm trying to remember the name of the book. It's Raghunath Thakur, I think it was. Anyway, it was one of the associates of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Let me just look at it. I can find the book, I think. Very, very nice verse. How Gurudev, Guru Mata, Guru Pitta, Gurudev is our mother, Gurudev is my father. He's considered to be like my father because my father is that person who gives a semen. In Krishna Bhakti Rasa Kadamba, Sri Narayananda Thakur, I was thinking, Sri Narayananda Thakur, associated with Nityananda Prabhu, he gives this as his Mangalacharana prayer. The Guru Mata, Guru Pitta, Guru Pranadana, the Gurudev is everything. He's my mother, because a mother is someone who gives birth to me. Gurudev gives me birth because he gives me mantra. But he's also my father because my father is someone who first gives me birth. And that first birth comes when we hear Shastra from Sadhu. And that's what gives us some inspiration to go to Gurudev. So that's like a Siksha Guru. And after getting initiation, we also have Siksha. And Srila Prabhupada says generally the Diksha Guru gives Siksha. But sometimes that's not the case. There may be some other more prominent Siksha guru, like in the case of Raghunath Das Goswami. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Harinam Chintamani goes on to describe about this. Krishna Nama Mantra Dina Diksha Guru Siksha Guru Tattva Danta Vaishnava Shakala Siksha Guru Hana Sarva Subha Janiyanata. That the business of the Diksha Guru is that Bhaktivinoda says that he gives Krishna Nama Mantra. Dana Diksha Guru. That's the business of the Diksha Guru. The Siksha Guru, Tattva Datta. He is someone who gives us tattva. Or my Guru Maharaj, another time he put it, he said that the Diksha Guru is Sambandha Datta. He is a person who gives us our connection to Krishna. In fact of the matter, he is our connection with Krishna. Whereas the Siksha Guru, he's Abhideya Datta. He shows us how to walk on that path. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the Diksha Guru is that person who gives Krishna Nama Mantra. Just changing some batteries as I'm sitting here. And the Siksha Guru is that person who teaches the truth about Krishna, who teaches that tattva. Vaishnava Shakala Siksha Guru. All the Vaishnavas are qualified to be Siksha Guru. And he says in that way, Sarva Subha Janayata, that the Vaishnavas then, they're like the father of others' good fortune. And this is one of the obligations that we have to our Diksha Guru and to our Siksha Guru. When we hear something from them, we have to repeat that. And if we don't repeat that, if we share that with other persons, then we may lose whatever good fortune we have, and may lose whatever things we've gotten from our Siksha and Diksha Gurus. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his footnote on this, he comments that, again, that we may accept many Siksha Gurus, but we should still treat them equally. We should be respectful of both. My Guru Maharaj was once asked a question, which I often repeat, so excuse me if you've heard this before, but I like it so much. Somebody asked him, who was more prominent, the Siksha Guru or the Diksha Guru? And Guru Maharaj gave such a great answer. He said, whoever occupies your heart, that person is more prominent. Because it's a question of the heart. It's not just a question of seminal initiation, which is what we sometimes feel like in ISKCON, is someone who gives mantra or initiation. That person is really important. And then someone else who just teaches me Shastra, that person may not be such an important person, would be sentimentally think like that. So, let's see. Oh, I just like very much to again touch on, I can share the book right here. This is from Bhakti Charan Das's Oriya commentary, Manasiksha. Raghunath Das Goswami wrote Manasiksha. And in the first verse, he describes Guru, Goste, Gostali, Yisu, Sujane, Busuradane. He speaks about the Diksha Guru and Siksha Gurus like that. So in his commentary, Bhakti Charan Das describes Diksha Guru Rupe Swayam Shri Govinda Siksha Guru Rupe Radha Vaishnava Swarupe Sakhi Gana Save Hare Beto Vigna Hare Hey. The Diksha Guru Rupe Swayam Shri Govinda. You should see that your Diksha Guru is directly Krishna. Siksha Guru Rupe Radha. And the Siksha Guru is Srimati Radharani. Vaishnava Swarupe Sakhi Ganasari. And the Vaishnavas, they're the gopis. And these three, Haribe to Vignabhada, they remove the obstacles from our bhakti. So how is it that the Diksha Guru is compared to Krishna Acharya Mam Vijanayan Navamani Taparichit Sakshadurya Vinasnamastu Shastra. Because the Diksha Guru is giving us Krishna, he's mantra data. He's giving us mantra, and that mantra is Krishna. So he's considered to be a form of Krishna. And the Siksha Guru is considered to be the form of Radha, because Srimati Radharani is Bhakti Devi, and the Siksha Guru is a person who tells us in what to do with the mantra that we've gotten from Gurudev. That's the business of Radha. And then all the Vaishnavas, they're helping us to come closer. The business of the Sakhis, the Gopis, who were like the Vaishnavas, the business of the Gopis is to help bring us closer to Radha and Krishna. So the Vaishnavas help to bring us closer to our Siksha and Diksha Gurus. So just to summarize this verse again, very briefly, I'm not getting into all the different things about Lalita and Vishaka and Mahaprabhu and everything, but we see a krama, a sequence in this verse, with the Diksha Guru and the Siksha Gurus and the Vaishnavas. And we see some purport about this too. So I want to go on into the fourth verse, which Guru Maharaj gives some namaskars, some pranams to Krishna. Again, this is a namaskar of the three different types of Mangalacharana, types of Mangalacharas. This is the third type of namaskar. And again, it's these first 7 verses are verses which we might say are a little kind of common. And we know this verse very well. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaskate. That, my dear Krishna, I'm offering my pranams to you. And how do I meditate on you? Because when we offer pranams to somebody, it's not just that we go and we just say, oh, Prabhu, please accept my respects. Why? Because you eat a lot, because you're so big, or because you're a Mataji who wears nice saris or something. But what is the quality of that person? And when we offer pranams to someone, we speak about their qualities. And it's like someone wants to glorify you, appreciate you. If a boy loves a girl, he says, oh, my beautiful girl, your face is brilliant as the moon. And when you talk, your words are very, very sweet. And did it lose the connection there again? Just a minute. Thank you.
Prabhu, you've got there that funny picture again as last week.
Strange. For some reason, iPad crashed. Anyway, I'm still here. You could hear me the whole time, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when we glorify someone, just like in a loving relationship, what are your feelings? Is it just that, hubba hubba baby, you're really hot, I really like you, or a woman's not interested in a man who speaks like that? But when a man glorifies a woman and says, you're so intelligent, I remember that song that you sang, the poem that you wrote, the painting that you made. We speak about some quality of the person, then we appreciate that. So when we're approaching Krishna, also we want to glorify and appreciate his quality. So, hey Krishna, my dear Krishna, you're Karuna Sindhu. You're the ocean of mercy. You're Dina Bandhu. You're the friend of the fallen. Jagatpate. You're the source of all the creation. Gopesha, Gopika Kanta, Radha Kanta, Namaskate. You're Gopi Isha. You're the Gopa Isha. You're the master of the cowherd men. You're Gopika Kanta, the lover of the gopis, and you're Radha Kanta. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So in this verse, we see that there's again a kind of sequence, but this sequence is a sequence of confidentiality. In the beginning, the author is saying that I offer obeisances for my personal benefit. because you're Karuna Sindhu, you're Dinabandhu, you're Jagatpate, and then it goes a little bit closer. You're actually, you're the master of the cowherd people, and even more than that, you're the Lord of the Gopis, the lover of the Gopis, and even more than that, you're the lover of Srimati Radharani. And he keeps that thing for the very end. So this verse speaks about, take your throat lozenge, the compassion of Krishna. That compassion is described by Sri Rupa Goswami as swatantra, or independent. Krishna decides who he wants to give mercy to. And Rupa Goswami gives some example. Krishna prasadam akarot aparadyatepi padankameva kila kaliyapanagaya na brahmane jasamapi stuvate pyapurvam stane swatantra chadito nigamai yam. This is the example he gives us with Tantra, how Krishna is independent. He says that Krishna gave mercy to Kaliya. Although Kaliya was an offender, still padankam eva kila Kaliya panagaya. Krishna put his feet on his head. But at the same time, na brahmane jasam apistu vate prapurvam. Lord Brahma began to offer all these wonderful prayers, Purusha Shukta and things, and Krishna didn't even glance at him. Krishna put his feet on the head of Kaliya. Kali is a big offender. Lord Brahma he's Pitamaha. He's Jagatkarta. Pitamaha means the grandfather of the universe. Jagatkarta means the creator of the universe. He's a big management personality in Krishna's creation. And he's very, very sattvic person, but maybe a little passionate, but he's also very sattvic. That Krishna didn't even look at him, but he gave mercy to Kaliya. So Krishna, therefore, he describes that his mercy is swatantra, it's independent. And we see another example given, Rupa Goswami says about Priyamvada. Priyamvada, I sometimes quote it, very, very sweet. Priyamvada means to speak in a sweet way, a pleasing way. And Rupa Goswami defines it, Jati Krita Paradhipi Sanfavari Priyamvada, that to speak sweetly to someone who's offended you, that's Priyamvada. Even though you become angry because Brinda Devi offended you, or Jamuna Rasa offended you, and maybe really, sometimes we really offend each other or something. I offend Krishna, she offends me. Really, some offend, but still you speak in a sweet way. And that's very, very high class. And Rupa Goswami gives a very beautiful explanation, a very beautiful example that, again, of Kaliya. And he says that Krishna spoke to Kaliya, Krita Vyalike pi nakundalindra tvaya videya mahito shajustihi pravashyamanosu surachitanam param hitadya gavam gulasya. He said, my dear king of snakes, he addresses Kaliya as the king of snakes in a very sweet way. He says, although I caused you so much trouble, please don't be upset with me. This is how Krishna speaks. It's a Kaliya who killed all the cowherd boys and all the cows. Krishna goes and apologizes to him. Please, maybe I've done something to offend you. He said, don't be upset. I'm not just trying to drive you out from Vrindavan. He said, but it's because of the cows. I take care of the cows. And you really are not very compatible with the cows. You can't stay with the cows. So because of that, you have to go. So you please forgive me. So how is Krishna Karuna Sindhu? If we go a little deeper in this verse yet, he's Karuna Sindhu, he's the ocean of mercy because he's Radha Kanta and Gopi Kanta. because he's the lover of the gopis and the lover of Srimati Radharani. And that love, where is that ocean of love? Prabhupada said in a very nice letter, Himavati, the wife of Hansadura Prabhu, in 1968, she said, Prabhupada writes, you have asked, where is the ocean of love? So she's asking about this verse, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu. So where's the ocean of love, the ocean of mercy? Prabhupada says, I think you may know that it is in your heart. The ocean of love is in your heart. The ocean of love is in the heart of the devotees. The ocean of love is in Krishna's heart because the gopi is in Krishna's heart and Radharani is in Krishna's heart. So that's an overview a little of the fourth verse. The fifth verse then, Guru Maharaj, first in the fifth verse, fourth verse, he offers namaskar to Krishna and then to Srimati Radharani. Now some devotees, they'll say, no, we should offer obeisances first to Radharani and then to Krishna. That's okay. If you're in Krishna's camp, you may do that. But if you're in Radharani's camp, you do the other way. Because we offer obeisances first to Krishna because Radharani likes to do that. And because our purpose is pleasing Radharani. And then we offer respects to Radharani because the devotees like to hide their true feelings. So in the beginning, they'll say something about Yad Rama Krishna Charana Spadasa Pramoda, as in Gopi Gita, the gopis, when they're glorifying Govardhan Hill. They speak something about Krishna, Yad Rama Krishna, Balaram and Krishna. But Rama there means, there's two reasons why the word Rama is there. One is that it indicates Radhika Rama, actually Krishna. And another, because that's what the gopis are interested in. They're not interested in Balaram, these Krishna's gopis. But a second purpose is that the gopis want to hide their feelings, even to each other. So they said, Yad Rama Krishna. Like this, I like Ram and Krishna, Balaram and Krishna, but actually they're thinking Radhika Rama and Krishna. That's the nature of the gopis. So in a similar way, we may offer obeisances first to Krishna and then to Srimati Radharani because we're hiding our real attachment. Srimati Radharani comes second in that sense, indicating actually she's the real personality that I want to glorify. And we see that again in that same verse, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Banaji Gapate. The first part of the verse, first half of it's just thinking about Krishna, what is he going to give to me? You're the ocean of mercy, you're the deliverer of the distressed. And in the next line, you're the lover of the gopis and the lover of Radha. The lover of Radha, that comes last. So, Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, and then Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold and is the queen of Vrindavan with a daughter King Vrishabhanu, with the Krishna. So many of our sessions we spoke about the Tapta Kanchan, how Srimati Radharani's complexion is very, very golden. And how that golden complexion is the color of Madanaki Mahabhav. So I'm not going to go so much into that again, but I would like to share with you something on the screen from my Guru Maharaj, where he speaks about, he explains the importance of this Tapta Kanchan and Gaurangi. He put it in his own words. And this, I think this is a very clear indication what he's thinking when he recites this verse. He said, when we speak about prema, this is from Embankment of Separation, chapter 4, it has a gradual development. The first rise of prema is called rati. When rati becomes more and more condensed, it develops into sneha, man, pranaya, rag, anurag, and bhav. Then comes mahabhav, which further develops into ruda mahabhav, adi ruda mahabhav, modanakya mahabhav, and then madanakya mahabhav, the topmost. This is a gradual development of prema. When prema has developed to the stage of anurag, its complexion, its color, is that of the rising sun, aruna varna. When anurag becomes more condensed, it becomes bhav and then mahabhav. The color of mahabhav is golden, gauravarna. So Vrishabhanu Nandini, the daughter of Vrishabhanu Raj, is Madanakya Mahabhava Moyi. The color of that Madanakya Mahabhav is molten gold. Therefore, Radharani is Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, the color of molten gold. Similarly, because Krishna accepted the mood of Radharani, his complexion changed. It is automatic, natural. So tapta kanchana gaurangi, tapta kanchana gauranga. Because he accepted the mood of Radharani, automatically his complexion changed. And then Guru Maharaj goes on, the acharyas give the example of a green mango and a ripe mango. When a mango is unripe, its color is green. As it ripens, the color changes. When it is completely ripened, it becomes yellow. So Shyamasundar became Gaurasundar. In Krishna's Shyamasundar, the mellow is unripe. But when the mellow completely ripens, the complexion changes and becomes Gaurasundar. So, and then he goes on with 2 sentences later. He says, therefore we say Shyamasundar, Krishna may be there, but if there's no Gaurasundar, we won't go there. Because the mellow is unripe. In all Gaudiya Vaishnava temples, Radha Shyamasundar is there, but Gaura must also be there. Otherwise, we'll not go there because the mellow is unripe. We want the ripened mellow, which is nectarian sweet. That is Gaura. So in all Gaudiya Vaishnava temples with Radha Shyamasundar, Gaura must be there. That's Gaura Vaishnava Siddhanta. Therefore, we see in the temples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, my Gurus would often comment, that in all of his temples, it was a standard that he would install Radha Krishna and he would install Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada gave us Gauni time, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he generally, sometimes established a Panchatattva, in a few rare cases, Gaur Gadadhar. But generally, he established Mahaprabhu with Radha Krishna. And several reasons are there for that, because on the same altar, we should not have Gaunitai and Radha Krishna. That's why even in our ISKCON temples, there's a different altar for Gaunitai than for Radha Krishna. But in the Gaudiya Math temples, when you see Radha Krishna, Mahaprabhu is on the same altar, because it's considered to be the same tattva. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. We did pretty good today. How many did we cover? We covered 3 verses. It's half again as much as we did in our last session. Our next session, I want to go on with Tapta Kancha and Gauranga. Vanchakalpa Vibhishcha. And I have a lot of things I want to just touch on real briefly with that. To conclude a little bit with this Tapta Kancha and Gauranga verse, we see Guru Maharaj's mentality, what he's thinking about this, and he considered it very important to speak to devotees about Tapta Kanchana Gauranga and what is the tattva behind that, why Radharani has a golden complexion. And Guru Maharaj, here he's speaking about this exact verse, which he put in his Mangalacarana prayers. So I'm very confident that he was meditating on these first 7 verses because they're common verses in Mangalacarana to give devotees confidence and also to teach certain particular principles. And he was very, very keen to teach devotees about the importance of understanding the complexion of Srimati Radharani and the complexion of Krishna. Okay, so let's make a note there. And we'll go ahead and stop there. So if anybody has any reflections or comments, questions or anything, this is a good time for it. Let's see. Linda Sundari, are you free? You're still dressing the deities? If you're able to say anything, it'd be good. I know you have to go pretty soon. Probably the first person has to go.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu, for this katha. I appreciate the point with the Diksha and Shiksha gurus. And it kind of reminds me of just the culture of Sangha, the community. And to me, when I'm like reflecting on Shiksha Guru and how, and Chaitanya Charitamrita in the first chapter, that, the Guru is plural, especially the pointing to Shiksha. So I don't know, I guess I see sometimes that people can be so absorbed in the Diksha Guru that it can be almost isolating in some sense for them. I'm just seeing, like, on a practical level, what can happen to community when we're not fully embracing the culture of Vaishnava culture, where Shiksha is involved and Shiksha gurus are given quite a bit of emphasis traditionally. So I'm reflecting on that.
I thank you. That's a really beautiful point. I'm seeing it from the perspective of community. And I've seen the Diksha Guru also, they appreciate Siksha Gurus, and sometimes they tell devotees that you should go to such and such person and hear about this subject or that subject. And they're giving respect to that person. They're giving love to that person. And it indicates also in our society that we're not just cult members. It's not just a popularity cult because this is my Diksha Guru and I'm our Guru, Jagat Guru, he's so great. But we love our Guru Day for a particular reason, for a particular thing. At one point that I didn't mention, which I should have, I usually do when we speak about Siksha and Diksha Gurus, is that a beautiful comment from Srila Bhakti Prabhu Keshav Maharaj, Prabhupada's friend, who gave him sannyas, who's a sannyas guru. He once commented that the function of the Siksha Guru is to bring one closer to the Diksha Guru. And he says, if the Siksha Guru doesn't bring one closer to the Diksha Guru, he's not a guru at all, he's not a Vaishnava. He's just a rascal. So again, as you're commenting, this is community. There's a loving relationship, and we could go through this. I will touch on a little bit more of this when we get into Vanchakalpa, the Yudhishthira verse. But if you study the Tattva about Guru, there's a number of verses where Acharyas describe that the purpose of the disciple, they have to go and hear also from the Vaishnavas. And that's how they prove themselves as a disciple. That's pleasing to Guru. Not just that I now have my Guru, and the rest of you guys can go to hell. I don't need you guys anymore. I have no respect for you. But there's a culture, there's a community there, as you're pointing out. It's a very beautiful, beautiful thing. Thank you, Brenda. Anything else you want to comment?
Okay. It's really like that conversation between Prabhupada and one disciple about the ocean of love being in one's heart. That's just really a nice meditation.
So beautiful. And Prabhupada's telling that to Himavati, one of his disciples. There's another very sweet letter from Prabhupada to Himavati to give you a sense of how much love Prabhupada had for his daughters. It just really touches your heart. Himavati, at one point, she thought that her husband was going to take sannyas. And later on, he did. And so she went and she shaved her head and she put on white. And when Prabhupada heard about that, which is a traditional thing, if you go to Vrindavan and Mayapur or Puri, you'll see if some lady's husband takes sannyas, they'll shave their head and they'll put on white. Or if their husband leaves his body, it's a widow dress. When Prabhupada heard that, Prabhupada said, what are you doing like this? Prabhupada said, Krishna likes beautiful gopis. He doesn't like ugly gopis. Why have you shaved your head? So you should be beautiful for Krishna. And that really, really touched my heart. Prabhupada, and we can see from that, someone may say, well, Prabhupada's just saying it because she was a Westerner and she's not as deeply versed in the culture as someone from India. Well, of course. Everybody's different, but the point is that Prabhupada was giving love according to that particular person's needs and their psychophysical nature. And he was giving so much affection to them. And Prabhupada stressed that it's not necessary to do some radical thing like we like to do in the West so much. He reminded me of that. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Natalia, do you want to share anything with us today?
Hare Krishna. I don't know if do you hear me?
I'm outside. Nice to see you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm outside. Thank you very much for this class. Thank you very much for beautiful explanation why Gauranga and Gauranitai should be worshipped on the altar, like always in our tradition. Because of course I've heard who is Lord Chaitanya and like separately somehow before, and somebody who gives who says that we cannot worship Jagannath or Radha Krishna without Gauranitai. Yes, we start to follow, but it is not real worshipping. But if someone hears explanation like this, it's very beautiful, and all together, then it becomes like real worshipping. Thank you. And also, it was important for me to hear, of course, about honoring, equal honoring of Shiksha and Diksha gurus. How from an, I felt something new in it also. Thank you.
Sure. Vaishnavas are not sentimental. Vaishnavas are not fanatical. They're genuine. Love should be genuine. It's not that this, I love my Gurudev because he's my guru. Bhaktivinoda calls it Amar Guru, Jagat Guru kind of mentality. But I love my Gurudev because Nama Shrestha Manamapi Satiputtam Matra Swarupam, because he's given me all these different gifts. He's given me the holy name, he's given me Radha Krishna, he's given me the Gayatri Mantra, he's given me this thing and that, he's given me so many different things. That's why I love him. That's why I love my Siksha Guru, because they're speaking Krishna Katha. Otherwise, it just becomes a cult and it becomes something mundane. We just become friends and we start talking about how to do active listening and how we can better be friends with each other. And then maybe eventually we just start going to movies together. We're going to mundane restaurants or something together, and we lose the bhakti spark there. So we should always remember that our relationship should be based on bhakti. Our relationship with our Gurudev is based because I love him because he's given me Krishna. And Gurudev's so happy with that. Hey, Gurudev may tolerate when he sees neophyte devotees just jumping up and down and Jai Gurudev, and I have my Gurudev's picture, and my Gurudev is so great, and this and that. That's okay. It's like a young child. You don't hate a young child who just loves my daddy's the best daddy. Why is he? Because he's my daddy. He's the best. Okay, that's all right. He's a young child, but we hope that the child will grow up someday and appreciate deeply the gifts that Gurudev has given. So thank you, Natalia. Hare Krishna. Kushbu, are you there? Do you want to share something? I don't know when you came in, or maybe you're late. She's giving some comment. Thank you for the beautiful class. I have a question. Should our relationship with our Siksha Guru be more of awe and reverence than love? You can't say. Some people may say the relationship between the husband and wife should be awe and reverence. There are people who say that. I could show you verses that show that the wife, you should scare her and she should be afraid of the husband, and that's good and things. That's okay, but that's not very high love to be afraid of someone, but to have awe and reverence for Gurudev. But at the same time, you can't just walk in and say, "Yo, Gurudev, how's it going?" Slap him on the back, and I just said I'm going to have lunch with you today, Gurudev, and just sit down and I'm going to be your friend. You can't just invite yourself in an intimate way, either with the Siksha or with the Diksha Guru. And some devotees I saw with my Guru Maharaj, some of them were afraid of him. I was Guru Maharaj's servant, and part of my service when we traveled with Guru Maharaj was to help facilitate devotees, especially disciples or aspiring disciples who wanted to speak to Guru Maharaj. And sometimes Guru Maharaj couldn't understand their accents, or they would write a letter or something, and I would read it to tell Guru Maharaj what they wanted to speak with him about. So I was kind of a go-between. And I saw that many devotees were afraid of him. And that's okay. That you have to honor those feelings. You can't sentimentally just say, no, we shouldn't be afraid. On the other hand, that Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Chaitanya Sikshamrita, he says there's 4 different ways that we approach a person or the Lord. Bhaya, Asa, Kartavya, Buddhi, and Rag. Bhaya means out of fear. And sometimes in school, someone goes to the biggest guy in school because you're afraid of him. Please, will you be my friend? And what kind of friendship is that? I like you because you're so big. Asha means out of some desire for something personal. You become someone's friend because I want to borrow money from you. or I want to have a girlfriend who's so beautiful that everybody can see I have what we call in America a trophy girlfriend. These are like a plaque you have on the wall, or a ribbon or something. I have this girlfriend, she's very beautiful. You don't care anything about her, but she looks a certain way. So that's asha. And that's also a very low class kind of relationship. Better than that is kartavya buddhi. Kartavya buddhi, Bhaktivinoda describes as being a relationship of duty. That I like, and again, in the relationship between a man and woman, husband and wife, I take care of my wife because I'm supposed to. The wife cooks for the husband because I'm supposed to. The disciple takes care of Gurudev because I'm supposed to, because Gurudev gave me so many things. And that's good. But the best relationship is rag. Rag means out of affection. And it's natural. But again, you can't just imitate that. You can't artificially just say, yo, Gurudev, how you doing, man? Slap him on the back, and you and I fist bump. Gurudev. You can't imitate that. It's something which will naturally come from the heart. And some devotees have a very, very intimate relationship. Vishal Prabhu, who passed away a few years ago, is an old friend of ours. And he was a very different kind of person. He really liked the cowherd boys. I think he wanted to be a cowherd boy. But he had a very intimate relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Once, I think it was in Mayapur, maybe Vrindavan, the devotees had brought a new Bhagavatam. It had just been printed. And they gave it to Srila Prabhupada. And they would offer the book to Prabhupada. And Vishal Prabhu entered the room just right after that. And he just walked right up and he said, Prabhupada, can I have that book? And Prabhupada said, yes. Just gave it to him. But Vishal Prabhu had a very affectionate kind of relationship with Srila Prabhupada. Just like Abhiram Prabhu. Prabhupada told him, he said, I want you to be my personal servant. And my first instruction to you is that when I sleep, I want you to sleep in the same bed with me and hold me. That's very, very Prabhupada. And he did. He slept in the same bed with Srila Prabhupada. This is just a little before Srila Prabhupada left this world. Prabhupada was going through a pastime, seeming like he was very sick. And sometimes he might need help in the middle of the night to take care of his body or do whatever. And so he wanted Abhiram to be there, to be that intimate. So you can't imitate that. You can't just say, yeah, Gurudev, I'm going to go sleep with you, the men especially. I'm going to go sleep with Gurudev. I'm going to eat with Gurudev. You can't just imitate that thing. And I don't see Kushbu's making a distinction between the Siksha and the Diksha Guru, but part of the point we're making is that we don't make a distinction between the two of them. Of course, we distinguish between everybody. We're personalists. But our heart follows the place where we get the most affection, where we get the most substance. And as my Guru Maharaj said, who is more prominent, the Siksha or the Diksha Guru? He said, whoever occupies your heart, that's the most prominent person. So I hope, is that okay, Kushbu? I hope that's helpful for you. Gonitai Prabhu, do you have anything you want to add? Any reflections or anything?
Hare Krishna. I hope my environment is not disturbing the meeting because I'm in Budapest in office. So thank you very much. I joined a little bit later. Yes, this is very, very. I'm very much appreciating your comments for the different questions we have. I see you immediately understand the mind of the devotee who is putting question. So it's very in elevating my faith and my trust in you. And that's very important in other associations. Like Shiksha Guru is not who is a very learned person, but who really one with the heart of the other person. And that's really our community need to develop nice relationships. And then we find our Shiksha Gurus in our communities. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because everything is based on Krishna. we give class, and it's not that in the material world, someone sits down and they talk about themselves. That's very popular. But that's not Vaishnava Sangha. In Vaishnava Sangha, we sit down and we quote Shastra and we speak about Krishna, or we speak about the Vaishnavas. And the function of that is to bring us closer to Krishna. The function of the Diksha Guru is to give us Krishna. The function of the Siksha Guru is to help us come closer to Krishna and to our Diksha Guru. So that's is a community, as Bindu Sundari was commenting. Thank you, Ventakabha. Appreciate it. I want to go a little more quickly here. Let's see, Tirthakar Prabhu, do you have anything you want to share?
No, Prabhu, thank you. I'll pass tonight.
Okay. Nice to see you tonight. I appreciate your presence. And Jai Gaur, let me see. Anybody else is there going to Lila Purushottam Prabhu. You want to comment something, Lila Purushottam?
Ask few things. There is when you were answering Brinda Sundari, and actually with her comment, because I had the same appreciation of that culture of genuine appreciation of Diksha, Shiksha, Guru, and especially it provoked the thoughts regarding her thoughts about how does it relate to development of the community and like that. And I want to ask one thing, like, because it's quite observable phenomenon that the greatest and, let's say, externally most successful projects usually stand behind one strong leader. And then my question is how much we can recognize there the power of personal cult and these things that we rather would like to avoid actually, and how much it could be really genuine and yeah, you understand my point?
Yeah, let me give you an example that comes to my mind when you're mentioning this, which I think you might appreciate. Historically, I know of one leader who was in charge of hundreds of millions of people. He was affecting very, very deeply all over a whole continent. And then at the same time, there was another group of 6 people who just come together very quietly, and practically nobody knew anything about them, and they were discussing things. So who was more prominent? The first one, his name was Aurangzeb, and the second was the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. So is it, should we have so much faith just in big numbers? But that's the nature of a Kanishta Adhikari. And again, we're not saying this out of hatred. It's not that we want to hate and bash the Kanishtas or something because they have a wrong attitude. In the same way, we don't hate children because they have a childish understanding. We tolerate that and we love that. And yes, my daddy's the best daddy in the world. Yes, that's nice because they're a child. But we're hoping that they'll come to a more mature understanding. I love my daddy because he's such a good man, and he's a pujari, he's a good kirtan leader, he's a this or that, he's an honest man, he takes care of things, he's a good gardener, he's whatever, like qualities. But it's a tendency of the Kanishta Adhikari that they tend to appreciate big groups. And Srila Prabhupada also played on that. And he encouraged us with a big institutional thing. But he also made comments that, like, he said, we're not interested in just lots of numbers, but now is the time to boil the milk and make it thick and sweet. We're not just interested in big numbers. So some people, they just function on numbers, and that's their inspiration, and it really helps them. It's a bit of a neophyte kind of mentality, but that's okay. And maybe they get something done. But on the other hand, I think you may appreciate this example too. Ayendra Prabhu. He wasn't a big person. He wasn't a temple president. He wasn't a GBC. He wasn't a sannyasi. He wasn't a guru. In a general sense, he was a Siksha guru for many devotees. But he was just staying in Vrindavan doing kirtan. And someone may say, what's he doing? What's his project? How many temples did he build? How many books has he distributed? Well, he's distributed, I would say, probably millions of books by his inspiration, and devotees getting inspiration to do Harinam and take it as a serious thing and wanting to be like him, wanting to follow his example of being a sadhu. And on the other hand, we've seen in the Pasanal movement some big persons who ended up going away, who were doing big type of things. One person comes to my mind in Eastern Europe, who was preaching in a very big way and had so many big projects and things. But where is he today? And what's the value of that big project? So we should understand that in a sober way. But again, it's not something we should just go and beat devotees up with and criticize them because we don't like their attitude. We should just tolerate them and encourage them, just like a mother or father would encourage the children. But, oh, yes, your mother's the best mother. She's the beautiful woman in the world. Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Let's see. Bindu Sundari's weighed in a little something. Maybe you can comment again after that. She said, when I commented about community, I was thinking from a perspective that some temple presidents in North America experience Diksha Gurus sweeping into temples and the devotees giving resources, respects, etc. to the Diksha Gurus, and in the temple itself, there's devotees giving Siksha on the grounds are neglected. That's a fact. That's a very neophyte center. I see a wonderful example in this regard is Naranjan Maharaj, who's been a great Siksha Guru for myself in many different ways. And he has a beautiful behavior. When he travels, if someone gives him money, however much money he gets, maybe 10 people give him donations, he goes to the temple president just before he leaves and he gives them all the money. If people come to him when he's traveling and say, Maharaj, please give me initiation, he refuses. He says you have to get permission from the temple president and that. And in some places he just won't do it because there's somebody else giving initiation. Because Maharaj is very conscious that he doesn't want to disturb the local temples. He doesn't want to disturb Srila Prabhupada's mission. So I appreciate that. I would appreciate if you had some other reflection you're going to go on with, I think.
Probably Natalia, if she can switch off the mute herself, because it makes sense. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was just, my point was whether if we see those successful projects, then we, at least my tendency is in the light as you commented, we immediately try to see rather the externals, and but my question, like my point of my thoughts on it was, can it look externally great with one leader, which may even look like a personal cult? Everyone is following one leader and everything goes according to his orders, instructions, and externally it looks successful, and we would have the tendency to see it as a rather superficial, like connected with the Kanishta project-oriented mentality and like that. But my thoughts are, can it be also genuine from the advanced platform and still carry those symptoms of successful, nicely looking project? You're muted, Prabhu. You're muted.
Thank you. How many devotees' houses do you go to and they have a picture on the refrigerator from their 2-year-old child? The painting of Krishna, they made it's all kind of scribbles and whatever like that. Or how many parents, they take their children to the beach and the children make a castle out of sand. And the parents say, that is so amazing. It's such a beautiful castle. It's so nice. It's so good. To encourage those children. And so sometimes Gurudev does like that also. And sometimes even he does it in public because there's a certain category of people who need that. And we should understand that Gurudev's doing it out of love. He's trying to encourage that person. But it's not just making a big show. There's two different types of service in a broad sense. These are Hoitaki Seva and Ahoitaki Seva. Hoitaki Seva means service with a motivation. And Vaishnavas have defined that as when you become the temple president. So they make Lila Purushottam the regional secretary for Czech. And you're a big man, and you get nice silk dhotis and whatever, and, and you go places, and there's a motivation to your service. You want to be a big person, you want to be famous and whatever like that. That's Hoitaki Seva. And that service is not necessarily motivated, but because it's very public, it might be. But Ahoitaki Seva is our japa, or how much we read together. How many people they make an announcement when we just want to make an announcement that yesterday Lila Purushottam Prabhu read for 3 hours, or he chanted 64 rounds or this or that. We don't make announcements about that. That's Ahoitaki Seva because it's between me and Gurudev, and that's a beautiful kind of service. And therefore, even in the Bible, it's recommended that when we give charity, our left hand shouldn't know what our right hand is doing. Don't advertise your piety. We should keep that hidden. But sometimes we do. We do accept some position. Even a Vaishnav, he may chastise the devotees. He may go somewhere and they say, "You don't have a garland for me? There's no foot bathing?" And you may think, "Oh, he's just on some kind of power trip or something." But he may not be. He may be doing that, as I gave that example before of my Guru Maharaj, chastising at Mataji, where's the garland you're supposed to make for me? He doesn't care about the garland, but he cares about her, that she should be doing service. So Srila Prabhupada sometimes chastised the devotees when they didn't greet him properly. They didn't take care of him properly. Once they did Vyas Puja and they didn't know how to offer flowers or what to do. They brought him pushpan or rice and this and that. And Prabhupada chastised them. It's not that Prabhupada wanted the Vyas Puja program for himself, but he wanted to help those devotees. So it's a very difficult thing to understand. And therefore we have to follow our hearts, because sometimes there are some Vaishnavas who really seem like they're just wanting a lot of prestige and money and whatever. And even they come and they'll complain, "What, you're only giving me $100? Most people give me $1,000 or whatever," and they're complaining, "Why you're not giving me enough money?" or something. And you may feel this is not good. Maybe it is good. Maybe the person's an empowered Vaishnava, and for the sake of Srila Prabhupada, he wants them to give more money for their benefit and to help his projects. But it's a difficult thing to say. Vrinda Sundari's comments relevant in this regard too. That somebody, we should cooperate and encourage the local temples. That's our system. And raid them for me and followers and whatever like that. Okay?
Yes,
Anything
yes.
else?
May I have one more thing, or oh, now you're frozen.
It's a little.
Yes. Yes. Okay. May I ask one more thing? Oh. Hello.
I'm sorry, it wasn't you, it was me. The connection was bad. You had another comment or question to the Purushottam?
Yes, yes. I would like to ask one more question, because I was thinking about this. Like, you spent quite some time in the beginning of discussing the Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, and I was like thinking, in the first chapter of Adi Leela, there is quite a ground covered with that discussion, and there is that one in one verse it is stated that Guru Krishna Rupa, and it seems to me that it relates to the Diksha Guru. And later in verse 47, Adi 147, there it states that Guru Krishna Shiksha Guru Svarupa. So I was thinking if there is any explanation, or is there any significance to those different form of words that to the Diksha Guru is used the word Rupa, and to Shiksha Guru his Krishna's Svarupa. Is there anything behind it, or?
Yeah, in those verses, the Diksha Guru is described as Rup. Rup means body. And the Shiksha Guru is described as Swarup. Swarup means an expansion of the Rup. But Swarup means also, it's very intimate with the Rup. That Shiksha Guru, by definition, is someone who's very close with the devotee, with the principle of Guru. He may or may not know, I don't know if Sri Damodar Goswami ever met the Diksha Guru Raghunath Das Goswami or not. But he's close with the principle of that thing. Is that helpful?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's actually I have, but I don't want to drag it on. There is one statement by Prabhupada in that purport in the first paragraph that I just couldn't figure out what does it mean. And it says that there are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person,
One is
fully absorbed in meditation in devotional service, and the other is he who invokes the disciples' spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instruction. What did Prabhupada mean by this?
So we shouldn't be lazy. Why is Prabhupada speaking this? The message that I personally feel is that Prabhupada is saying, don't be lazy. How are we lazy? We may be lazy, but anyway, I just accept anyone as a Siksha Guru, and it's just kind of cool. I say, I have this prominent person as my Siksha Guru. But really, we want someone who's a liberated soul, who's a Mahabhagavan. But at the same time, that's two types of Siksha Gurus. One is a liberated soul, and the second one is someone who gives relevant instructions. And we shouldn't dismiss those relevant instructions. And they may be coming from a child. They may be coming from a source we don't. But if it's something helpful for me at that time, then I see this as a manifestation of Krishna. Manifestation of Krishna. And if someone is a liberated soul, that's a big manifestation.
Okay.
Someone who's coming and inspiring us in Krishna Consciousness. Can you hear me okay?
It was a little bit difficult.
There may be
last moments, but
yeah. It may be a big manifestation or a small manifestation, but we see them as a manifestation of Krishna. And it's not that the small manifestation is bad. If it's relevant instructions, we need relevant instructions. We need help. Either, I only want the Shakti Krishna Puja Karnitya Mahabhagavat Guru kind of thing. That's okay. We don't want to be lazy, as I mentioned. We want to take instruction from someone who's a liberated soul. But at the same time, if someone can give me relevant instructions, that's very good. And especially if they can really help me, more than just one or two instructions, but maybe they can help me in different ways, that's a good thing. So that's another point that I see subtly indicated in that statement, is that we should not be fanatics, that we appreciate relevant instructions. We shouldn't be lazy. We should look for an uttamadikari, an elevated, liberated soul. But at the same time, we should not be fanatics. We can appreciate and take something from everyone. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm getting a message. My connection is unstable.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhuji. Jai Gaur Prabhu, are you still there? You want to share anything with us tonight?
Yeah, I'm here, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yeah, come a little closer to the computer. I'm going to turn off mute my microphone while you share
Okay.
something. Is Bana there with you?
She is. I just had some points from the class that I really liked. One was in the very beginning, you said, that felt like a little sutra to me. The Vaishnavas will never be pleased with us unless we're fixed in service to Gurudev. And then we also, and then by the mercy of Gurudev, we can appreciate the Vaishnavas. So that was very sweet for me. I really liked that point. And I was also thinking, I remember being in grade school and kids would, they would say, well, my dad can beat up your dad. And they would always, argue like that. That was reminding me of some of the things you're speaking about. So that's all I had to share.
I have a cartoon on my wall. You may remember. There's two devotee boys in a sandbox, and they're arguing. And there's another little devotee girl standing with her hands over her ears. And one little boy says, "My Gurudev is greater than your Gurudev." And the other one says, "My Gurudev is such a Nitya Siddha. He can beat your Guru all the way back to Goloka Vrindavan." And the other little girl's yelling, "Amar Guru Jagat Guru, Amar Guru Jagat." Yeah, we have that mentality. But let's not hate devotees for that any more again than we hate children when they want to say, my dad's the best dad. But at the same time, we can't be very close with those persons. It causes all kinds of problems. It's difficult.
Yeah.
Bana, do you want to share anything? Has Jaguar been being nice?
Yes, he's being very nice.
That's good.
I don't have anything I want to share today. Just happy to be here.
Just seeing your smile on your face at the end, that's enough for everybody. Thank you very much. I was thinking about you guys today. I was talking with Prashanta about the Govardhan retreat, and she told me something about the dates. She said that it may change by 2 days. We're talking in March, so if you guys are going to come, she told me it's either going to start on the 19th or the 21st and finish either on the 26th or the 28th of November. So I'm just hoping we're going to get to see you guys there. We're looking forward to that.
Us too.
We also heard something, Pranahari Prabhu may be coming to Govardhan for Kartik time. So
Really?
maybe we'll get to see him around then or something too. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You guys are not going to Hari Parsha Prabhu's class?
We're going tonight. We just skipped this morning.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you all very much. I'm going to make a little note in our WhatsApp group and suggest something. And I want everybody to please understand the motivation. It's not just that I want to lord it over everybody and whatever, but I want to request everybody to respect the Sangha. And if you can, and just take the attitude that you're expected to be in every one of these sessions. And of course, it's all right if you can't come, but then please just write a little note. I'm sorry, I can't come or something. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really make any difference in one sense, but what it does, it helps respect the Sangha. And it's nice for me. I'm here every week for everybody else. So we have a little commitment to each other for things. I was just marking this other Sangha we have that we do every Sunday now with the devotees from South Africa. They're very cultured, pretty much all from Indian backgrounds, and they do like that. They'll write, I'm sorry, I can't take part. And oftentimes devotees in our Sangha do the same thing. But I'm just mentioning it. I just thought it would be a nice kind of polite thing that we can do. Okay, so we'll go ahead and stop there. Thank you all very much, and let's see what happens next week. I'm going to be in Govardhan Echo Village or somewhere in Mumbai. And by the way, just to mention to everybody, it looks like Let's look at the date here. You'll be interested in this, I think. We're leaving on the 12th. It looks like, not promised yet, but on the 20th, I think it's the 19th to the 20th, we're going to have another session in the Gopi Geet with Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu and Amarendra Prabhu. We'll keep everybody informed about that. If everybody in this group, if you're not part of our, we have a WhatsApp group for our katas, it might be good for that, and or our group for the Bindu. Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bol, Vancha Kalpa Varubhascha, Kripa Sindhu Deva Cha, Patitanam Pavani Vaishnava